Okay.
Just so you know. The Ramsey County Board of Commissioners meeting is now called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Fretham.
Here.
Modis Castillo.
Here.
McDonough.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Here.
And Carter.
Here. Thank you very much. I would ask that Commissioner Modis Castillo would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance while the rest of us go on mute. Thank you.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. The agenda of November 2nd is before you for approval. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner McGuire and Commissioner Ortega for the second. Are there any comments or questions on our agenda? Would the clerk please call the roll? Forgive me.
Modis Castillo.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
And Carter.
Aye, thank you very much. The agenda has passed and our minutes from the last meeting of October 26th are before you. I'll ask for a motion and second, please.
Move approval. Second.
Thank you, Commissioners Castillo and Fretham. Are there any questions then on the minutes of October 26th? If not, we'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Modis Castillo.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
And Carter.
Aye. Thank you very much. The minutes of October 26th have passed. And before we move on to our COVID update, I would like to call your attention to a meeting, a board workshop that is on the board's calendar for this afternoon at 1:30, the 2021 Minnesota State Fair After Action, Law Enforcement and Security Services. You will recall that the board requested this workshop of the sheriff to review our 2021 services at the state fair. We have conducted one workshop and this is the second as a wrap-up planned to hear back from our administration, the sheriff, and with invited guests from the state as well. I want to share with you that the chair has decided after consultation with the county manager to cancel that workshop and to reschedule it for a future date with the expectation that Sheriff Fletcher will take advantage of the opportunity to participate and be there in leadership of his department as we wrap up this summary. The chair has checked in with the sheriff to understand he will not attend the workshop this afternoon, which we regret. That means we will not have the representation of that department's policy and operational leadership in order to discuss this very important topic. So it is with that information that I have requested that that workshop be canceled for this afternoon and rescheduled for a later time to give Sheriff Fletcher the opportunity to attend and participate as a county leader together with us. Thank you for allowing that announcement. And I will move on then to our COVID update, calling on County Manager O'Connor for that update. County Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. And to your previous point, we will update the online agenda for the public today as well to ensure that it reflects the comments you just made.
Thank you very much.
As we turn to our COVID-19 update for today, I will go directly to start with to Incident Commander Laura Anderson from Public Health.
Good morning, Chair, County Manager. It's a pleasure to be here today and to give you a brief update on COVID-19. So I think many of you are already aware of this. It's a big day for us, those of us involved in COVID-19 response. Today, the ACIP will actually meet at the federal level and provide an endorsement for pediatric dosing or pediatric distribution of COVID-19 vaccine. So I'm excited about that. I have a feeling that there will not be significant conversation around that endorsement. The FDA went ahead and approved the Pfizer pediatric dosing this past Friday. We are very much excited to be recipients of pediatric doses of vaccine and to provide them to Ramsey County residents who are ages 5 through 11. So I will share a little bit more on our plan to engage, to actually support a pediatric vaccine campaign in a few minutes. But before I go ahead and do that, I would like to ask Mike Lindsay to bring up the CDC data tracker for your review. One more tab over, Mike, if you don't mind. Yep, thank you so much. So let's take a look at the broad numbers for Ramsey County in comparison with other communities across Minnesota. You may recall, as of the end of July, we were sitting at about 54 cases per 100,000 individuals. As of today, I believe we're sitting at about 177 cases per 100,000. That's a small decline from our high with this wave, I think, was about 203 cases per 100,000. But I'd like to see those numbers decline further. Positivity rates for individuals who seek testing here in Ramsey County remain above 5%. We continue to see individuals take advantage of all the testing opportunities that we have available to us at this time. But again, those numbers remain awfully high and high enough for us to continue to sustain the mitigation measures that we have in place as a community. Mike, if you would go ahead and move over to the case update, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Just a heads up, we are in the process of making some pretty significant changes to this particular dashboard. The reason for doing so is twofold. It has to do, frankly, with how the state has been able to manage and improve data cleaning and data tracking for cases. So just yesterday, the Minnesota Department of Health announced their efforts to fold in reinfection as a separate visualization for cases. They are able to actually demonstrate and show reinfection across time now because the feds have settled on a definition for reinfection, which is when any individual tests positive a second time, 90 days or more after their prior infection. Reinfection is quite rare. It's very rare for folks who are fully vaccinated. It does tend to occur in long-term care congregate settings. It can also occur, we've seen reinfections occur more frequently among healthcare workers, which is another reason, obviously for us to be providing boosters for those populations specifically. So you will see a jump in the case data at the state level. Just yesterday, they added an additional almost 8,000 reinfections to their case update. So it will be important for us to track that number over time and to be able to share it with our residents, in part because that is one of those numbers that we can really move through vaccine. We can influence that number and push it down further by making sure that folks are fully vaccinated and that individuals with significant immunocompromising conditions, as well as individuals in some work settings, receive that booster shot. Mike, so if you could go ahead and show the vaccine dashboard, that would be great. Thank you. So again, we have some good news to share. As of, I believe, last Friday, we have 79% of eligible recipients having received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. We're seeing those numbers increase somewhat rapidly right now as younger populations get their shot. So for 16 plus individuals who are very much eligible, almost 76% of them have completed the vaccine series. For 12 plus, that 75% of that population has completed their full series. It's awesome news. And we actually look forward to being able to bump up numbers for 5 to 11-year-olds very shortly, obviously, as they become an eligible population for us. Mike, if you would just scroll down a little bit further, I'll share our vaccine summary. Yeah, so thank you, Mike. Perfect. As of yesterday, again, we've been able to give a little bit more than 58,000 doses at more than 400 clinics. And our intention, at least for the next 2 weeks or so, is to sustain those efforts somewhere between 200 and 300 doses through our standing community clinics. That's Arlington Hills Community Center, Oxford Community Center, as well as the Consulate of Mexico, as well as through client services. So we are offering COVID vaccine, of course, through our existing clinical services, through correctional health, through syringe exchange, as well as in coordination with social services, we're actually able to offer a vaccine to homebound populations as well. So, you know, our intention for this week, again, is somewhere between 200 and 250 doses. But I'm really looking forward to seeing those numbers increase significantly as we roll out a pediatric vaccine campaign. So I'm sure some of you are aware of, I believe, Minnesota Department of Education commissioners, as well as the governor himself, have been very aggressive in promoting and pushing forward a coordinated campaign to reach pediatric populations. Ramsey County will be a partner in moving Pfizer pediatric doses forward. We intend to do so through a couple of different mediums. We will be offering those pediatric doses at our community clinics. That will start, I don't want to give you a date just yet, but I believe that will start at the end of next week, once we have an opportunity to receive the vaccine and train up on it. So there will be doses for family members under 12, again, at those community clinics, Arlington, Oxford, as well as the Consulate of Mexico. We're also deeply engaged with all 6 districts in our community, and we will be partnering with them to provide school-based clinics. The majority of our school-based clinics will occur in St. Paul. The reason for doing so, frankly, is to continue to focus on populations where we know there's a little bit more need. We're focusing on school-based populations with more proportions of students receiving free and reduced lunches, for example. So we want to make sure that we have ample opportunities for students at those schools to receive a pediatric dose of Pfizer. We'll actually also be offering adult doses at those same clinics. So if there's a family member who's been on the fence, we'll go ahead and support them in seeking vaccine as well. So I'm very excited to share more as we have more information, again, coming from the feds as well as the state. But we're on board and looking forward to getting many of those kiddos fully vaccinated before the holidays. So that's the update I have for you. I'm happy to stand for questions. Please remember that I am not a medical professional, so save your questions for Dr. O for when she comes back from vacation. And I see we already have a few, so.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here with us. And we do have a few questions. We'll not get too medical or too technical, but we do appreciate your being here. I'll call first on Commissioner Castillo.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Laura, for an update. As you can tell, we're all really excited about these pediatric doses. And I had the opportunity this weekend to go to the Oxford Community Center to get my booster and to thank the team. And I just wanted to share too, is one of our volunteers, our medical volunteers, Charlie, who's a retired anesthesiologist, who is now an eager volunteer, wanted to share and wanted me to tell you all that one more metric that we're not measuring, but is critically important, is that when a volunteer opportunity is posted to participate in a clinic, that if the volunteers get the email and they don't respond in about 15 minutes, all volunteer slots are full. And he said that he volunteers in a couple places, but Ramsey County is the best run shot clinics, testing sites, and the volunteers are waiting desperately to be part of our clinics. And so that was a metric he said that you should pay attention to, because not everyone can report that. So I wanted to say congratulations again to your team. That continues to be an outstanding operation. And to hear that from the volunteers as well is really important. The other thing Charlie shared with me, and this brings me to kind of a comment, is he shared with me that he was of the first kids who got the polio vaccine. And he said he still remembers how frightening it was to stand in line in school with hundreds of kids crying, knowing they're about to get a shot. And he had a memory of a principal chasing a kid down and tackling him in the street to bring him back for a shot. And he said, I really want the team to think about how we do pediatric clinics differently. And, you know, is there opportunity to distract? Is there opportunity to make it not so frightening? Because we want to, of course, encourage more kids. And, you know, if as a mom, if I had to bring multiple kids in for a shot, I certainly don't want to manage 3 or 4 crying babies waiting in that anxiety. And so after I left, I actually had I have several kids of my own. And so I kind of polled my young kids and I said, what would make it better for you? What would make it okay? Because they're nervous, but know they need to get the shot. And they said, you know, if you could play a movie in the background or play music or have yard games that we can play until we can get our shot, or it probably would be a good idea to actually put a curtain up so we don't see a needle going into another kid's arm. Or he's like, or pass out iPads with games preloaded while they're doing it. So I just wanted to share some ideas and thoughts. I know it's one more course, but given how many volunteers want to join us, maybe there's opportunity there to just make it less traumatic for the little ones and for the parents who have to deal with crying babies afterwards. So, but thank you again. Thank you for all your work. And we're really excited about this.
Chair Carter, Commissioner Matas Castillo, I want to share with you that Director Holly has been very, she's the parent of a child and she's been very much engaged in our planning for pediatric doses. So we will have some, the way these clinics are going to run, they're going to be smaller, frankly. They will involve families and parents as well as representatives from the school on site. We will obviously make sure we have some privacy screens available, and we'll do our best to make sure that we have some games, some activities so that kiddos have a chance to feel, rewarded for their good decision too, right? So definitely this is a conversation we've also been having with the schools around how to make sure these are really pleasant environments and a little less intimidating than your standard mass clinic.
Thank you so very much, Laura. And thank you for that question and reinforcement, I should say, Commissioner Matas Castillo. Commissioner Fretham.
I'll add to Commissioner Matas Castillo's ideas a little bit because they were all really good. But goodie bags, kids love goodie bags. And I think there might be a lot of PTAs out there willing to help assemble them. I think leveraging the desire for people to volunteer, maybe a partnership with someone like the entertainment team with the St. Paul Saints. They were able to get folks out with cool costumes. So having volunteers willing to show up and be more, a calming figure, or some of our child life specialists maybe at our hospitals might be willing to volunteer as well. So options there that might be fun. And I guess the question that I had, the main question is, there's some talk that, has Ramsey County received our pediatric vaccines yet? There was talk, okay, so there's like, oh, they've already shipped. And then how much training is involved, and is the end of next week the soonest that they would get out, even if director signed off today after the meeting to go?
Chair Carter, Commissioner Fretham, that's a great question. I've been fielding the same from parents as well as school partners. We have not yet received doses. I'm sure they are en route. I heard that through a news article, and I believe it to be true. We do need to take some time for training, though. We have already identified through both staff and volunteers who's comfortable and proficient at providing pediatric vaccine. We definitely want to take some time with them, though, to make sure that they have all their questions answered. So I do not believe we will be able to stand up earlier than that tentative date of, somewhere between November 10th and November 13th. We will not be able to provide vaccine prior to that time. We will, however, be able to do some pre-booking using our registration software. So if just to ease parents' minds, as soon as we're able to release those links, parents will be able to make an appointment either at a community clinic or at, like I said, a school-based clinic in coordination with that district.
Thank you very much. Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Incident Commander Anderson, for this great report. We're all very excited about the pediatric dosage endorsement and looking forward to that. I, like all of my colleagues, get questions from our communities about, when this is coming. And I have been, of course, as we all have been out in the community with my school districts. And so the schools are really wanting this dosage. So I know you said you were focusing in, that you were doing some in St. Paul. And I would just say that we have a number of schools in the suburban area that have a high number of free and reduced lunches. So I think you know that. And so I just want to, encourage you to, use volunteers. I know we could get a lot of volunteers in the schools to do this. And we have schools that really want this in their area, out in the suburban area as well. And so they were just asking me the other day, when are we going to get the doses in our schools? So I'm hoping that we can really get it out to all of our schools. So I don't know what that would look like, but I know we do have a lot of people that would volunteer, and the schools are really anxious to get them. So hopefully that can happen sooner than later. And I'm like Charlie. I remember, boy, standing in those lines, getting those doses. So we know that schools do this, and we know that there's a history of doing this. And I really support my colleagues, Commissioner Meadows Castillo and Fretham, in making that a little bit easier experience. But it's a great thing to have the schools be doing this. I do have another question about just some of the data that you've seen. So you have a number of people that have gotten the first dose. Can you remind me, or can you let me know what are the percentage of people that don't get the second dose? I think it's pretty low, right? I mean, just because we identify the people with the first dose, it usually people get the second dose if they've gotten the first one, right? Do you keep track of the percentage that don't get the second dose?
The state does, and we've been watching those numbers for a while. So really, the gap between first and second dose, or any sort of reluctance to receive that second dose, we've been seeing that close up. I think in part because of employers, requiring vaccine. It's very small. I think individuals, especially with like the rise of Delta, knowing that there are breakthrough cases, folks are more apt to get the full series. They know it's better protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much. And then my last question, just because you've got these great numbers and the great data that we're seeing, I noticed that there's a number for doses and a number for vaccines, and I've sort of been using them in the same way. So can you explain to me the difference between a dose and a vaccine? Because I noticed there's 58,000 doses and 62,000 vaccines. So just explain to me what that difference is.
Oh, that's, thank you, Chair Carter, Commissioner McGuire. That's a great question. So I think that's just a little bit of just a language quirk. So what I'm saying there is that we ourselves have given a little bit more than 58,000 vaccines, but we have redistributed an additional 4,000 doses to partners. So, we will work with other community agencies who are giving vaccine, like Black Nurses Rock or M Health Fairview, occasionally we will find ourselves in a situation where the partner will give the vaccine under our medical direction, I guess is what I would say. So it's, still a protective dose, right? But it's being given by a different vaccinator.
Okay, so the dose is just the shot, but
they're both
when
shots.
it's given, it becomes a vaccine. It's not a shot; it's a dose. It's a vial of stuff, and then when it's given, it's a vaccine. It's just in our data. It's not just you that's been saying it. It's actually written on the dashboard. So that's where I got it from. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Since this is the Pfizer, do kids also get 2 doses?
Chair Carter, Commissioner Reinhardt, yes, it's actually the same time-based 3 weeks apart from first and second dose, which is nice and convenient. If you yourself are an unvaccinated parent, you can get the shot and your kiddo can get the shot, and then you can come back around the same time and get that second dose, 21 days.
But the shot for kids 5 to 11 is a smaller dose than the adult one, correct?
Yeah, I believe it's a third of the dose, and it's just as effective. So, yep.
Okay. And then finally, the healthcare organizations, the hospitals, the clinics, and so forth, are they going to get their doses, excuse me, about the same time as we do?
I believe so, yes.
Are we encouraging folks to, wherever you can get it, I would think?
Absolutely. So Chair Carter, Commissioner Reinhardt, we know that we are not the only, we are certainly not the only provider of pediatric doses. And the state's plan is very clear that they are distributing, very thoroughly to providers across the state. This won't be quite what we experienced last winter when we really did have vaccine prior to some providers or pharmacies. Everyone will get a nice substantial supply simultaneously, and parents should have choice around where they go for vaccine.
Okay, thank you.
So once again, thank you, Laura, for your report and for responding to our questions. I will check back in with you and with the county manager for any final comments as we move beyond our COVID update.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll just end by noting that November 1st has actually come. I feel like it's a date we've been talking about for quite a while in terms of phase 1 of our return to office planning, implementation of our flexible workplace planning, and our vaccine and testing going live. Not a small day in the history of Ramsey County yesterday. On all 3 fronts, I want to thank people from across this organization for their work and leadership in getting to yesterday and through yesterday. And I want to thank employees for being a part of this ongoing journey together with lots of ebbs and flows. Quick recaps on all 3 fronts. On the vaccine and testing component, specifically, the ability to upload your vaccine status is now available on our Summit system, our employee payroll and electronic records tracking system. That's the safest, most secure place where we can control access only to those areas in which we need it. There was also a training and development that rolled out alongside that over the past few weeks. It is not hard to upload your card. I can tell you that I just did mine very recently, and it's one of those pieces that I am impressed at the ease of use for how challenging it was on the fly with the timelines we had to get it done. And I really am impressed by that work. As a part of that, I will continue. Part of our goal here, in addition to keeping employees and the public safe through the best means we know how, which would be getting vaccinated, and then secondly, controlling any potential spread of COVID in the workplace. We will also be getting better information to understand where our workforce sits in terms of current vaccination and what that looks like. I'll work to bring those numbers back as we go. And this first week of rollout, since it's a 1 week period before the first testing is fully due, there's kind of a week here during implementation where we're not going to have full information. But here's what I will just share at a really high level for you. As of yesterday afternoon, 70% of employees had taken a step of uploading their information into the system. So that's not everybody, and we are still dealing with questions coming up, and I anticipate that number will rise higher today. And I am someone who would not have been caught yesterday in said system, but would be caught today. So there are others in that space as well. So it's 70 point something as of today. You can add a +1. Here's the news, though, that's really, I think, important for everyone to hear. Of the 70% of employees who had uploaded, 96.5% indicated that they had been vaccinated as a part of the upload. And so what that means is a large majority of our workforce already has attested that on the opening day of this all rolling out. There's more to do. And I think you could anticipate, too, that testing results will still continue to come in for some who have not been vaccinated. But what we are getting immediately is better information to understand what our workforce looks like, where are their potential needs to be engaged deeply with individuals to make sure they're having access to vaccines. What does our testing plan look like? I look forward to sharing more as we go, and I hope that preliminary information is at least helpful. I see I have a hand, Madam Chair, so I'll pause on the vaccine testing if that's all right.
Yes, that is fine. Thank you very much for the preliminary information. As of yesterday, I would not have been found in that system either, but I am now as of last night. I'll call on Commissioner Reinhardt and then share some other thoughts. Commissioner.
Thank you. You mentioned the updates to the system and so forth, and I have been telling people to download, upload, whatever it is, the Docket app. And I think that it is just an incredible tool. With or without COVID, it's an incredible tool to be able to say, okay, do I need that flu shot? Do I need whatever it is? My question is on that is how often does it get updated? Because I think the last time it showed for me being updated was in September. And then I have another comment.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Reinhardt, I'm going to see if Laura can. So the Docket app is something that the state has worked hard on to make vaccination information available, not only for COVID, as you mentioned, Commissioner, but other pieces. Laura, do you have an idea of how often that information gets updated?
Yeah, I actually have lived experience. I got a flu shot recently. I think it took about 4 days for the app to receive the data from the clinic. And then I saw that I had received a flu shot. So pretty slick. I think faster if you get your vaccine in Minnesota. That is what I will say. Still working out some bugs with that. Yep.
Well, then I better follow up on mine because it's not updating. But regardless, it's an incredible tool. And then I just wanted to note that yesterday I was on the NACO, National Association of Counties IT committee. They met. And one of the things that came up was some of the issues with HR and, what's the new normal and how things are rolling out. And it became very clear to me, and I left a message for County Manager O'Connor on this as well, just how far ahead we are in this county and trying to let people know that there is a way that you can work through this. Our staff is incredible, and people were anxious and really happy to get the information about who to contact and how we have taken these steps and how carefully we have worked with everyone involved. And I think the fact that we have a system that actually others can look to, even if it's not about HR, but to look to and say, I was just on a community board meeting last night and said, if you really want to know whether, if you want to know as far as meeting in person or virtual, everybody wants to see people in person again. I mean, it's human nature. But I said, look to Ramsey County. You can see what the status is. And if we're in substantial or high and you are meeting in Ramsey County, you better rethink it. And so it's a pretty easy way to deal with that. So anyhow, I just think I mean, we expect excellence and we get it from our staff every single day. But when it comes to this rollout and the work that was done on this, and I'm not going to name names, and I'll let Ryan O'Connor name the top ones, but because I know that there were so many people that were really involved in this, and to be able to share that information with others was pretty exciting, and people are anxious. Employers, counties, businesses are anxious to see how this works. So I just wanted to give a public yoo-hoo to the team that put this together. So anyhow, Ryan, if you could just, so that I don't miss someone, I really think it's important that we thank them, the leaders in this, at this point as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Reinhardt. I will definitely miss names. What I will do instead is kind of name a broader piece, and I will bring back that list to a future meeting. That would be a good County Connections piece. There's a vaccine and testing implementation team that weaves across HR and public health in the lead, but it also involves folks from many different departments then that are engaged, from policy and planning on the policy side to other implementation pieces. And so at risk of missing someone, I do think Incident Commander Laura Anderson is one of many people on that team today. And so she's nodding her head. They've been meeting every week as this all goes forward. I will bring that list back and give a full shout out next week. Thanks for the prompt.
And thank you, County Manager O'Connor, Commissioner Reinhardt also. It is just amazing the manner in which this rollout has happened. We are looking forward to seeing the immediate response of our employees. I mentioned earlier that I was able to get in yesterday also and certify and upload my vaccination status. It was easy after realizing that I could actually make a PDF from the print screen of my vaccination information and upload it to our Summit internal system. It is so important that we have great participation in this. In fact, we want our whole county to participate. And although when we passed our policy on the vaccination and testing requirement, we did not include county commissioners that got by us, we all want to provide leadership in taking this step forward for certification and for uploading our vaccination information. So we will all be doing that and looking forward to updating our policy as well. Once again, thank you for the update. I do see Commissioner McGuire, and you do have your hand up. My apologies. I thought it was left. I'll call on Commissioner McGuire again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just because Commissioner Reinhardt brought this up, and I just checked my docket, and I love docket because it does talk, tell me about the immunizations that I've had, but it is not updated. So I'm with you, Commissioner Reinhardt, that I don't know who we check with on that, but I've had a flu and all my COVID shots, and it's actually not on the docket. So I don't know if you have any ideas on who do we just let the department know that, but I'm hoping that will be updated soon. But I just wanted to let you know that that it is a great reminder of what you do need, but I'm concerned about the updating of it as well. So I guess, do you have any suggestions? Incident Commander Anderson, do we call the Department of Health, or who do we call about that?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Carter, I have lived experience on this one. Let me take a shot, Laura. I do think sometimes you have to refresh the app or sign out and sign back in. This happened in my family. Depending upon how close your name is to someone else's, depending upon the spelling. And as a McGuire, I could tell you that as an O'Connor, that became a thing about apostrophe versus not and how the system recognizes it. All of those would be potential suggestions. And once it gets clean, what Incident Commander Anderson mentioned earlier is clear. It becomes very tight. So
I appreciate that. I will try those suggestions. Thank you so much.
I thank you, Commissioner McGuire, and would ask that after you try, and Commissioner Reinhardt as well, you update us so that we can ask a global question if needed. Commissioner or County Manager O'Connor, you had something.
No, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I was going to just wrap up with a couple other pieces. Even while we were talking, I'll point out 300 more people uploaded since yesterday. So this data is going to come in quick and good. And what we see, I'll just tell you very quickly, I can't do the math on the thousands numbers in my head to the percent tenth, but you're seeing a similar consistency that most of the numbers that have come in so far show an overwhelming number who have been vaccinated as a part of that attestation process. And that means they're uploading the card and saying yes. This is not just a system where you just say yes. And so it shows a level of rigor to it. On the other two topics, just real quickly, phase one of returning to the office did go live on November 1. Yet if you looked around today, you would not see any significant change from before. That's because we opened in a remote first environment. That COVID-19 dashboard, Incident Commander Anderson pulled up earlier, right across the top, had a banner about our CDC transmission level, which remains, it was red and it said high. As long as that's high or substantial, we're going to stay in this environment we're calling remote first. The minute it drops below that to moderate or low, employees that are in phase one, which includes the county board office, the county manager's office, finance, human resources, and by county manager's office, I mean courthouse employees spread across many different areas of the org that all work in the courthouse. They will receive notification about a 14-day notice of changing status to whatever your hybrid status or on-site status would be once that transmission level is down. So we are now into the phase of actually getting an opportunity to be ready to move ahead. It's not the right time from a health and safety perspective to fully move ahead. And I appreciate that the chair has shared information with all of you over the last week as well about aligning the board's own path forward with the work of the organization in this space. And so we'll continue to update all of you going forward as well. But in the same way that there's a team on the vax testing side, this is the other large spot of work. And I'll make sure to give a shout out there to everybody as well. Because, from all the different efforts, it's a huge deal. And I'll end by saying today's From the County Manager column has been a deep amount of work with communications in particular. This is the focus today, is sharing what we've learned so far, how we are in this together. You get notes on all sides of it all the time. And these moments bring out everybody's excitement of the idea that we're going to move beyond this as a better, more nimble organization. And at the same time, you also get notes of fear or concern about pieces of, we still don't know everything about COVID. How are we going to manage in this particular scenario? I want to validate all of that and appreciate the work of the board to provide the flexibility and direction that has allowed us to move forward in these spaces. We'll continue to learn, and I'll bring back updates as we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the update this morning, for all of the ongoing work. We'll end our COVID update with a brief moment of meditation. We continue to appreciate the work toward recovery and rebuilding. We are hopeful that we will be out of high and substantial transmission in due time as we carefully continue to work through. We continue to observe the impacts on our families, our community, our entire county of this illness, hospitalizations, and even deaths, including into our own care center facilities this past week. So we want to just take that 30 seconds again as our moment of meditation. Thank you. Typically, there is a sound from the courtroom that brings me back from the meditation. Lacking that sound, I'll thank you all for this moment that we have taken. And I'll call on Commissioner Maris Castillo to take us through the administrative agenda. Commissioner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move items number 3, the third amendment to the lease agreement with the state of Minnesota for space at Metro Square, and item number 4, certification of property assessed clean energy charges for energy improvements.
Second.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Matas Castillo and Ortega for the motion. And the second. Are there any questions from board members on these items? Then I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll for our administrative agenda.
Matas Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
and Carter.
Aye. And thank you very much. We are on then to our ordinance procedures. And this morning we have a proposed enterprise and administrative services department ordinance. We had postponed the ordinance, passing the ordinance until this week to account for ensuring minor corrections were made. It is here before us today. And I will ask for a motion to approve the proposed enterprise and administrative services department ordinance. Is there motion?
Move approval.
Second.
And thank you very much. There is a motion and a second. And seeing the ordinance before us, I'll ask if there are any questions before we call the roll.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
you had asked me last week if you wanted me to summarize what change was made between last week and this week. Do you want me to quickly just highlight that for everybody?
I am sorry. I think you summarized it for me, and I appreciate that I did not bring that before the entire board. Thank you for responding to that request, County Manager O'Connor.
Madam Chair, you did such a good job asking me last week. I was ready to go. So based on that request, I just wanted to highlight the change that was made since last week was to the fiscal impact section, just to clarify how established budgets and FTEs are managed during the moment of transition and how future budgets and FTEs become combined into a singular space. We wanted to make that sure that was clear so there wasn't cleanup later on. As we go through our administrative charter or administrative code and ensure that long-term, the bedrock of the foundation is strong and clear, these are those types of steps we just want to pay extra attention to. So thank you for the extra week to get that cleared up.
Thank you very much for inserting and assuring that understanding. Are there questions before we call the roll? Then I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll for us.
Matas Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
and Carter.
Aye, and thank you very much. The Administrative Services Department ordinance has now passed. We'll move on to county connections. I'll go back to County Manager O'Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think most of my connections actually happened today as a part of just the transition across November 1st. The only other part I want to add is today is Election Day. And whether a year with a presidential election or congressional elections or other types of elections, there are always some elections going on. And I believe it is any resident of Ramsey County has something on the ballot today, I think is an accurate statement if I remember from our elections folks recently. And so I would encourage people to get out and vote. Yeah. We also look forward to continuing conversations with all of you about future goals around elections, turnout, registration, what the census means coming up. That's a piece that as an organization we're planning after some really big pushes over the last number of years. And I'm excited that that's a follow-up from our budget conversations before. But today a shout out to Heather Bessler and David Triplett, the entire work of the IPR team and the elections department. And we stand with you today through a busy and tough day, and the thousands of election judges who signed up, even as COVID continues around us. They're doing everything they can to stay safe, but it's a big deal to have them all working together. It's a day where the community really does come together.
Thank you very much for that. Shout out to elections, to our staff, and to encourage all to get out and vote. I have a couple of hands up, and so I will I don't have a couple of hands up. I have celebration. Okay, thank you very, very much. And we will move on with great appreciation for the connections that have been made this morning. I'll take this moment to, as we go into our outside board and committee reports, reinforce a couple of things. First of all, to mention that at the top of the meeting, we did announce that we would be canceling the workshop scheduled for this afternoon. We want to be sure that as we review this large additional responsibility for which the board signed on this past year with 2 joint powers agreements, that we would have our sheriff in participation and attendance with us in an after action workshop on the state fair. Staff has updated or will shortly be updating our online site, and so that people will know that workshop has been canceled. We will notice again when it is rescheduled so that we are able to gain the sheriff's participation with us in that very important discussion. I want to thank all who have worked hard to conduct the after action summary and to present information for us, which will enable us to understand the results of our state fair activity last year and to anticipate working with the state as they take additional leadership and ownership to create a solution for 2022 and beyond. I also want to say thank you to specifically Sheriff's Department staff, our administration, and our state partners who have prepared to, in partnership, join in with us on that discussion. And please know that we will be following up to ensure that we are working with the state as they take leadership per our request to create that 2022 and beyond solution. We will continue to do that work. Secondly, I would like to call on Commissioner Fretham to share news of and to read the text of an important proclamation that was delivered at the Sheriff's Department in recognition of a couple of our deputies and of a heroic incident that occurred there. Can I please call then on Commissioner Fretham?
Thank you, Chair Carter. And first, I just want to thank Commissioner Manis Castillo for presenting this last week on Friday and for the opportunity to share it with the full board here today. As many of you may remember, in March of this year, one of our deputies was injured in his duties supporting our Mounds View Police Department. And so this proclamation is recognizing the other deputy that saved his life in that incident. So I would like to read that now. Whereas on March 17th, 2021, Deputy Dallas Edderburn responded to assist officers of the Mounds View Police Department in pursuit of a stolen vehicle. And whereas the suspect fleeing in the stolen vehicle struck Deputy Edderburn's squad car at the intersection of Highway 96 and County Road 10 in Arden Hills, with the vehicle going at a rate of at least 100 miles per hour. And whereas Deputy Steve Edicus, also responding to the pursuit, found Deputy Edderburn incapacitated from multiple injuries with his squad vehicle on fire. And whereas Deputy Edicus, with the assistance of Officer Donald Castoris of the New Brighton Police Department, extracted Deputy Edderburn from his vehicle and dragged him to safety moments before the vehicle became engulfed. And whereas Deputy Edicus displayed extraordinary bravery and composure in rendering aid to Deputy Edderburn in a moment of mortal peril, and whereas Deputy Edderburn likely would not have survived without the assistance of Deputy Edicus, therefore be it proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners declares October 29th, 2021 as Deputy Steve Edicus Day in Ramsey County. And I know we're a couple of days later, still worth celebrating. So thank you to Deputy Edicus and to Officer Castoris for their assistance in helping ensure that Deputy Edderburn is here with us today. Thank you.
And thank you so very much, Commissioner Fretham, for sharing that information with us, and Commissioner Matis Castillo for presenting the proclamation at the Sheriff's Department last week. great things to be able to acknowledge and thank Deputy Edicus and recognize and be thankful for Deputy Ediburn's survival in that incident. And with that, I will begin to circulate for our board reports, starting with Commissioner McDonough.
No report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonough. Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things. I know that County Manager O'Connor mentioned the importance of voting today, and just to highlight that there are a lot of school districts that have school board elections and levy referendums. So there's a lot of issues that people can weigh in on with their government. And I just want to highlight the fact that this is an important day for cities and school districts around the county. So also just to give a shout out to our Public Works and Parks and Active Living, there was a Victoria Street Trail Study open house last week that we are grateful that we're having open houses on the issues around our community. MELSA's having a strategic planning session. And just to give a shout out to our Association of Minnesota Counties who do Monday meetings. And this Monday will be the Minnesota Association of Workforce Boards. It's a virtual roundtable, and at 10 a.m. They bring together affiliates from the Association of Minnesota Counties. This Monday will be workforce boards, and so it's just so interesting to hear what is going on with our different affiliates around the state. So just encourage people to be a part of that. It's all virtual. Also, at this moment, Madam Chair, I want to give a shout out to Heather Bandine, who many of us know was the education person for Association of Minnesota Counties. She's moving on to other things, and we will really miss her at AMC. We hope that the work that she'll continue to do will help impact us. But she's done such great work for the association, and I just wanted to give her a shout out at this board meeting. So thanks, Heather Bandine, for all your work on behalf of counties. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And I'll repeat that. Thanks to Heather Bandine. I'm sure we all appreciate her. Thank you for your update, Commissioner McGuire. Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to give a shout out to BOMA. I attended the 50th anniversary last week, and Jeff Sparks, the president. BOMA is the Building Owners and Managers Association. They've been a good partner with Ramsey County. Of course, we're one of the, we're also building owners in downtown, but BOMA has done a great job of being leaders in providing a safe environment in downtown and working both with the city and the county to make sure we have a viable downtown and safe downtown. So I just want to give them a shout out of 50 years of participation along with us, with government, in providing a healthy and viable St. Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no additional updates from what I already reported earlier. Thank you.
And thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. I'll go to Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you. I'll just add that in addition to the Victoria Street corridor study, that meeting last week, there's also one for Van Ness Boulevard. So there were 3 corridor studies happening that all touched District 1 in some way or another. I also had the pleasure of meeting Van Ness Heights City Council member Steve Rogers and City Staff Jesse Farrell for a tour of Van Ness Boulevard via bike. We got to go around and they got to talk about their excitement for the opportunities in redoing this particular stretch of roadway and how it'll support some of their economic investments. A couple of weeks ago, we were able to sell them a piece of land that we had acquired during the 694 Rice Street interchange, and they are working through a plan to develop housing on that corner across from some housing developed in the city of Shoreview. And the hope would be that new, better trail infrastructure would be able to connect that housing with other parts of Van Ness Heights, including Sucker Lake Park. And they finally have a brewery moving into the location at the old Garso hardware store. So Bigwood Brewery is moving over there. It's going to be a beautiful location with the view of Van Ness Lake. And they think, and I think they might be right, that Van Ness Lake might be the only lake in our area, in much of the Twin Cities metro area, that you can go all the way around without there being houses around it. So a great public asset in our community. So having great trail infrastructure would be amazing, not only for all of us, but also for the new residents moving to Van Ness Heights and the housing they plan to develop, and folks wanting to check out the new brewery going in at Garso. So thank you to Councilmember Rogers and Mr. Farrell for showing me their vision and for a lovely bike ride on a beautiful day last Friday.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Fretham. Commissioner Mattis Castillo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to just share that in addition to presenting the proclamation last Friday to the deputies on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I had the opportunity to also participate in a couple ride-alongs with two different women deputies at different shifts. So I went out with Deputy Allison Shabo, who is also the chair of the Federation. As you remember, a few weeks ago during our workshop, County Manager O'Connor gave us an introduction to her to make connections. And so I reached out and we had coffee, and then she invited me on a ride along. And I highly recommend that you go out on a ride along and just see firsthand what the deputies are up to. I will tell you, I was very impressed with the engagement with community, the compassion for our community, the real connection that they're making, and going above and beyond to make sure that our people who are in crisis get the resources they need. And so it was a really great opportunity. I also, after the presentation of the proclamation, I was really moved. If you would see Deputy Edinburgh, he's about 6'4". He's a huge gentleman. And Deputy Edicus, who pulled him out of a burning building, is just a little bit taller than I am. So maybe 5'6", 5'8". And so there's this like huge difference in size. And so to see the heroics that really happen, and then also the Mounds View officer, Historic, who participated in that, was really great to meet them. I saw the vehicle after it had been burned. It was incredible that he lived, and he was there in attendance, Deputy Edinburgh, and was standing. So he hopes to be back on duty in the next several months. He's doing a lot of OT right now to get to recovery, but is determined to get back on the job, which is really great. It's also important to note that there were other officers on scene that actually rendered aid to the suspect, who was also injured in the crash. And so to think about, like, this is so much bigger in a whole piece, that our deputies are going above and beyond to make sure they're responding and taking care of our community. So it was a really awesome opportunity. And then I did a follow-up ride along with Deputy Nagorski, who patrols Shoreview in the evening, and just listening to how dedicated, and by the way, Commissioner McDonough, she's your constituent that lives near you, and she's really proud of that. And she just, her professionalism, the level of professionalism, the way she did. In fact, we had 2 traffic stops on our shift together, and both of those individuals thanked her for their tickets, which was kind of amazing because of the way that she did it. Was expired tabs, was helping them get safe, but she was so friendly and really talked them through how this works, why it's important, those kinds of things. So it was really impressive. So just wanted to add that context as well. And again, I highly encourage you to reach out to Deputy Shaver and connect on this if you have the opportunity. It was definitely worth the time. 2 other quick things. I had the opportunity to talk to Hamlin students. Former Mayor Jim Scheibel is a professor at Hamlin, and each year invites elected officials to come talk to students. And I'm always love when after the class, one student, this is the second time now, has reached out to say, I want to be a county commissioner when I grow up. So I feel like it's a success and a victory when that happens. And so it was a great opportunity. And then last thing, the Rice Street virtual open house is November 16th. from 6 to 8, and folks can sign up online to get the link and join by Zoom. But our team with Bolton and Mank and Public Works and our Rice Street artists have worked so hard to collect the community's idea and community vision to roll out this really fantastic redesign of Rice Street. You don't want to miss it. Commissioner Ortega and I have had the opportunity to preview it. It is really going to be fantastic as we recreate Rice Street to be a cultural corridor, to be safe. As you know, it's the most dangerous street in our entire state. To make it safe and accessible for all modalities of transportation. So you don't want to miss that rollout on November 16th. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you again, Commissioner, for representing us in the proclamation and in sharing our thanks and appreciation, thankfulness, of course, for the heroic event and the survival of our deputy as well. I do want to mention that I was able to, along with Commissioner Ortega, attend the BOMA 50th anniversary. It was a bit unfortunate that the technologies weren't working as well, so Commissioner Ortega and I didn't get a chance to say hello and brush by each other. He was there in person, and I was there online. But I was so impressed with the 20-minute video that celebrated the accomplishments of BOMA, which have been many, including, of course, the whole creation of the thought process for district energy, but also, and I didn't connect to this as well because it wasn't there at the time, but incenting the installation of automatic defibrillators in our buildings downtown and so many other things. It was comical to see that Director Joe Sparks has an incredible sense of humor, as does our ex-mayor Latimer, who is also a part of the video presentation and is always quite a character. So I wanted to mention that before I share with you also that following our county board meeting today, we do have a morning board workshop on the Ramsey County Park Ordinance revision. I know that that workshop is online, posted on Zoom, so that community can participate along with us. And that link is on our site. As mentioned before, because the county sheriff has chosen not to attend today, we will be rescheduling, canceling this afternoon's workshop and rescheduling that to a later time, hoping for the sheriff's participation with us in leadership of the sheriff's department and of this initiative, which was brought to us last year. So with that, we have completed our work. I do see a hand up from Commissioner Fretham. I want to check if that is a question that you have now.
I do. I just
comment.
Yes, I just want to confirm with the Parks Ordinance Workshop. On the website, it says 10:30 a.m. and I know there's a lot of interest in viewing the workshop. On our agenda packet here, it says estimated 10 a.m. I just want to confirm that it won't be starting until 10:30.
Thank you very, very much. It is 10:08 right now. I appreciate your calling that question. I know that we will not be starting it at 10 o'clock. I will check in with the county manager. The paper that I have in front of me says 10 o'clock and would like to check if there is a time certain for 10:30.
Madam Chair, I apologize if there was a discrepancy. I would encourage us to start at 10:30 if you would be amenable to that.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner Fretham. And I just wanted to check on that to make sure we were all planning the same. So we will call that workshop then, as is on the website, for 10:30. With that then,
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Ryan.
Yes, you mentioned that this is a workshop of the board, and so it's not a public hearing. And I had the impression that you were talking about participants or people that are on the call also
participating,
being asked to speak.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It is not a public hearing. It is a workshop. It is posted so that community wanting to attend will be able to. Thank you for the
Thank you.
clarification.
I just wanted to make sure that we met expectations.
And I am always thankful for any clarification. I appreciate that. And with that, we are adjourned.
See you at 10:30.